Hello
Shall we start?
everyone. Yeah. Hello everyone. Welcome back to Sanjay Gupta Tech School. So I'm Sanjay Gupta, your host, and I have Chaitanya with me. So
Hi.
welcome Chaitanya on the platform.
Thank you.
So as you already know, we are having day two of this automation testing bootcamp. We got huge response in the day one session, so I really appreciate the efforts Chaitanya put in that session. So we are back with one more session, and Chaitanya will be sharing the knowledge which he shared in day one. So it is like in continuation with that session. So a
Yeah.
few more things he will be sharing today with you so that you can plan your automation journey. So over to you, Chaitanya. So you can start with the session for today.
Thank you, Sanjay. So, guys, just a sort of recap. So, in the last two sessions, we have talked about the concept of automation testing in general and how Selenium WebDriver is the most widely used tool and how it can be a very good tool for you to learn to boost up your career. And we did talk about the concept of XPaths in the last session. We did write a couple of XPaths, did them practically. We talked about the types of XPaths. We did talk about the XPath functions as well. That is the huge library of functions that XPath provide. So, in continuation to that session, today we are going to talk about the access method in XPaths. Don't worry, what is it? What is the essence of these access method is something we'll talk about. But yes, for today, the major topic to discuss will be access methods in XPath. Cool. So Sanjay, I'll start sharing my screen.
Yeah, just a second. Let me give you the permission.
Yeah, sure.
Just a second. Yep. Now go ahead.
Okay. Cool. I hope my screen is visible.
Yes, I can see
Okay.
this slide. XPath using access method part one. Yep.
Perfect. Perfect. That's right. Okay. So guys, learning about access method is very important in XPath. And before I actually deep dive into what they are, let us discuss a practical use case. And then let us understand first we'll understand the problem and then we'll see how access method can help, right? So as always, this is a demo of in Salesforce, and we'll be seeing how exactly this particular access methods or their different types can help us, right? So let me navigate to this record, which I'm already there on the screen. So what I'll do is I'll select any element. For example, if I select, let's say, account number, the data here, or even if I select account number field, right? So let's suppose there's a test case that says that I need to go and validate whether the account number field is present on the layout or not, right? And this is something which is to be done using test automation or Selenium, right? So there might be high chances in your actual projects that you will not be able to access an element directly from the node. Now, if you have not seen the previous sessions, you might question that what is node, what is class attribute. So I would suggest please go to the previous session to understand it because it takes some time to explain this. But for folks who already know it, so basically we did discuss about calling this particular highlighted text as node in the last session, right? So you have tag, you have attribute and attribute values, and of course the text in between it. Now there might be chances when you will not be able to locate an element uniquely by just using the current node. You'll have to take help from the parents or the child. Again, it is very similar to your day-to-day concepts wherein you have your parents, you have your siblings, you have your grandparents, ancestors. It is the similar way, right? So if let's suppose if someone says that what is your family tree, it always comes with the hierarchy, right? And same as in your organization as well. So everywhere there is sort of a relation between parent child, or there is sort of a hierarchy. So same thing, same concept we follow in XPaths as well. So the concept is that let's suppose if there is no possibility of you to locate an element uniquely using the current node, then we use the nodes which are its parents or ancestors or child, right? So the immediate parent, for example, of this particular node will be the one which is highlighted now, that is div, and then you have different classes and attributes in front of it. Then the div's parent will be dt, DT's parent will be DL, right? And now if I say, let's suppose if I want to catch the child of DT, then of course it is div. Then for child for div, it is span, right? So it is a top down and a bottom up approach. So whatever node is just above that particular current node which you're working for, that is basically a parent node. And then of course you can go beyond up to the ancestors, and that is something we call ancestors, right? So this is the concept behind learning the access method. So See, whenever there is a technical term given to some concept, it looks a little bit tricky, but it's not. All in all, you have understood till now that there is sort of a hierarchy for all the elements on a web page, and the methods or the ways that you use to locate elements using parent, child, ancestors concept is something which we call as access method. It is as simple as that, right? So I always believe that if you give some context to a concept and you correlate it to some your daily life, it's much easier to understand. So all in all, if somebody asks you what is an access method, basically you tell them that wherever we use the immediate parent or child or the related nodes in general, that is wherein the access methods come into the picture. Cool. So now let's jump on to and see the different types of access methods we have. The first one that we are going to discuss is not actually a type of access method, but it is the concept behind it. So we have chained XPath. So chained, as the term suggests, there is a relation between two. I mean, there are multiple things which are binded in one chain, right? So of course, the definition says using multiple XPath expressions together makes a chained XPath, right? The syntax is there, but as I always believe in showing examples first, I'm just simply going to copy this XPath, which is a chained XPath, and then I'm going to explain the essence of it, right? So, okay. I'll just try to keep it somewhere here. Cool. So, folks who have attended the previous session, you know that what I've written here is an XPath, right? And yes, it is showing one of one, but I need to explain you the concept. So I'm going to somehow distort the XPath. So do you see this is a chained XPath? And what is a chained XPath? It's nothing, just a combination of two XPaths, right? So do you see when I highlight this particular line, that is div type is equals to search, this is one XPath. And then the other one, which is input placeholder is equals to search, this is the another XPath, right? So all in all, when you merge two XPaths together, that is when a chained XPath comes into the picture. This is the definition of chained XPath. Now let's go ahead and let's understand that what we are doing here, right? So let's do one thing. I'm going to delete the second XPath from here, and we are going to see what is happening. Cool. So with div type is equals to search, do you realize that there are two results coming up? And if you remember, which I've been saying again and again, your XPath, an optimal XPath is one which always has a unique XPath. I mean, which always points you to a unique element, right? So herein there are two. So as far as Selenium or any other application or system or automation is concerned, or computers are concerned, you have to give all the details. I mean, the computers are not that smart to understand it, which one is relevant. So now in this case, there are two XPaths, so Selenium will break. It will say that, okay, you know what, I think which one to work. And by default, it will take the first one. But what is the guarantee that the first XPath will work? Might be that the second XPath works, right? So in such situations, we cannot only go ahead with one XPath. We have to make chained XPaths, right? So we have two elements. Now let me go ahead and let me see that how can I work on the other one, right? So first of all, this is the current node that we have selected. Now let's suppose if you want to expand it, you simply click on this arrow, right? So this arrow basically says that there is more inside this node. Then again, you have an arrow, right? So till the time there is an arrow, that means that it can be expanded. See, here there is no arrow, so it cannot be expanded further. Know this because this is going to be very, very important and critical when you are actually writing down XPaths in your projects, right? Cool. So now let me go ahead and let me use the second XPath, for example. That is the chained XPath. So what I'm going to do is, let me delete it for now for you to better understand this. Perfect. So there are two results. Let's focus on the second result, right? So this particular XPath is navigating me to an input box, right? So what I'll do is I'll just simply click on search and see. On the UI, there is a blue highlight. I'll show it again. So in the second result, it is showing me a highlight. The first one is basically present on the web page, but it is not visible on the UI. So of course, we have to focus on the one which is visible on the UI. The use case was that you have to search something in the box. So as to search, you have to first locate that particular input box, right? So now what I want is I want the second XPath to work. So what I'll do is I have this parent here, which is div. Then I'll again get into what is written into the div node. So there is input, there is lightning, right? So input tag is somewhere where I can have the this particular web element located, and where I can write it. So what I'll do is I'll simply go ahead and I'll paste it as input at the rate placeholder is equals to search. I'm not going to explain right now how to write down an XPath, which I've done in the second part, because this is something that has already been discussed. But the essence is that you have to traverse. Basically, first you went into the div, you wrote an XPath to locate this particular node or this particular piece of code, and then you went into it. That is, you somehow made a correlation between div and input, and that is how you wrote a chained XPath. It's as simple as that. I know if you're watching something like this for the first time, this can be a little bit confusing, but take your time. If you have understood the concept of XPath well, this is comparatively easier for you, because we are doing nothing. We are just chaining two different nodes together. And with the help of this, you'll be able to make a better correlation. It is similar to you and your father or your mother. If let's suppose you always have this, your parents' name is asked in your forms or day-to-day activities, because that makes a unique combination for you. So you and your parents or your grandparents, when coupled all this data together, that makes a unique combination. So have the same philosophy here, wherein if you merge div and the relevant this attribute and attribute value, and if you merge the child one and its values, then you get a unique XPath. So that is the concept of chained XPaths. Okay, cool. Sanjay, do we have any questions till now?
Not yet.
Okay.
Yeah, we can continue.
Cool. So chained XPath is this. Now you have different types of options in chained XPath, right? So the first one is following. Following basically is the same that you're thinking right now. That is following, preceding. That is, just so let's suppose. Okay. So this particular element which has the div as tag, the following will be label, right? For this particular element which has div as tag, the input will be following, right? So the concept is that whatever is next to your current node, rather what I'll do is I'll just remove this XPath for better clarity. So let's suppose if I have, just give me a second. So I'll go to accounts and I'll inspect again, right? So for example, you have two nodes. The first one is which is highlighted in blue right now, which has LST breadcrumbs as the tag. The other one is which has div as tag, right? So they're following to each other. Then you have, for example, div as the highlighted one, and then you have LST breadcrumbs as the following one or the next one. So basically, following is, whenever I say following, that means that the all the nodes which are just after the current node, right? So for example, if I ask you that what is the following node to div, then you will say it is LST, div, it is again a div, another a div, all these. So anything which comes after your current node selection is termed as a following access, right? So now what I'll do is I'll copy this thing for you, this XPath. Rather, let me split it. So I have this particular XPath here. Let me go ahead and paste it. Cool. So this is this particular XPath has highlighted an element for me, and I have multiple followings after this. That is, div class is equals to so and so, div data is equals to so and so, then div class again so and so. There are multiple tags after this, right? Now what I want to do is I want to write down an XPath using following concept, right? So following can be, you have 1, 2, 3, 3 followings after this, right? So what do you want to select? That again depends upon that what element do you want to locate into. So this particular node which I am currently on, that is this XPath, which is div class is equals to SLT grid. This is navigating me to an element which is highlighted in blue on the screen right now. Do you see there is a complete horizontal bar on the screen right now, right? And I want to go ahead and search or write down an XPath to locate this particular input, right? Now, if you use some logic, you know that this particular input box, which is search this list, is a part of the parent. That is a part of the div with the entire horizontal bar, right? Now what I'll do is I'll just scroll down and I'll see that which particular node is highlighting the element of my choice. So first one, if you see, it's highlighting 4 items updated 2 minutes ago at the left hand side, right? Then I scroll to the next div. There you go. It is highlighting the search this list input box for me, right? So I think this is the correct one. That is, in my following concept or in my following implementation, I'm going to use the second div. How do I do that? Let's go and see in the XPath. I use the following tag, which is, again, I'll use double slash because this is a chaining of XPaths, right? So as I told you that when you have to merge two XPaths, there is no plus, minus, anything. You just write down two XPaths together and they're automatically chained, right? Now I'll write following, right? And then I'll use double slash, double colon. Just a second. Yeah, cool. Then you have these different sort of options available here. Just a minute. What I'll do is I'll simply go here and right. So now what you do is that you again use an XPath. So you just wrote following here and you do paste. Let me just remove this. Yeah. So let's see again in parts. So the string that I've highlighted right now is XPath number 1, right? And then this second string is basically the XPath number 2, right? And following is basically coupling the XPaths together by forming a relation. So what it says is that wherever there is div, you go there, and then in the following input, that is the input tag which is just after div in the entire hierarchy, select that one, and then you use a class and an attribute to find the XPath. This is the concept of following, right? Any questions till now, Sanjay? Do we have anything? Because I know this concept can be a little bit complex, a little bit confusing. So I just want to be sure if there are any questions till now.
No, I don't think there is no question. So I think whenever like folks will be doing hands-on, so
Yeah,
they
that's
will be
right.
having. So yeah, we can go ahead.
Okay, cool. So this is the concept of following. Now, of course, when next concept comes into the picture, the previous step also comes into the picture, right? So let me go ahead and let me first talk about preceding. So the opposite of next is previous. So similarly, the opposite of following is preceding, right? So preceding is basically, if we are on the input tag right now, what is the preceding node to it? It is div. What is the preceding node to another div? It is another div, which is in the parent. Then what is the preceding node of another div, which is lightning primitive input simple, right? So basically it is just the opposite of following. It's not that complex now because we have understood the concept of following. So preceding is basically just the opposite of it. That is, you're going to find the previous nodes or previous elements to a particular selected node, right? Cool. So I have another example. I will go ahead and I'll paste this again. I think this was on contacts. Cool. No worries. Okay. So now the scenario says that, can you help me and click on the button which is send a list email? This is the scenario, right? Now, with the help of text function, I wrote an XPath that says that you go and click on send a list email, right? But somehow that might be that came out to be a duplicate, right? So I used preceding. So what it does is, let's go and first see if we are able to locate this element. We are able to locate this element, right? So herein, this is the send a list email text, right? Which we have already selected. And now I say preceding and then I say double colon li. So li is basically the preceding node to the send list email, right? So imagine that there is a situation wherein it says that you have now, you know what the scenario has changed, and it says that instead of click on send list email, click on add to campaign, right? And somehow add to campaign does not have a text written on it, and you're not able to somehow find that XPath, right? So what you do is you simply go and search first with send a list email. It's done. Then you use preceding. So it says that just behind the current node, whichever li is there, go and select that particular element. And so you have add to a campaign, right? Do you see on the screen, there is a blue highlight which says that this is add to campaign. So with the help of send list email button, which was just adjacent to add to campaign, we located the add to campaign button. This is the power of preceding, right? And one very good use case for this concept of access that is following and preceding can be on the login page or on the forms, basically, right? Let me log out of this org and let me show you a typical username password scenario. So let's suppose the scenario reads that, okay, let me show you the example first. Okay, cool. I'm going to tell you the example and I'm going to explain you two more concepts of following and preceding, which are somewhere related. But let's see for now. Let's understand the scenario. So, the scenario says that help me write down an XPath which will locate the input box for me, which is of the username. That is, I want to enter the username. Help me locate an element writing down an XPath, right? Now, one might question whoever have, they have had some exposure to XPath, they'll say that, you know what, why do we need to use following and access and all these things? Why don't we simply go ahead, use the span tag and use any of the attribute and attribute value, and then it will be able to select the element very easily, which is true. Trust me, it's not wrong. But that is what the difference between theory and practical is. In projects, you always have to write down the experts, which can be read easily by people who are not from the technical background, right? Or even yourself. If your experts are easier to maintain, that means that they will not require a lot of effort. How will this effort be multiplied if we do not use the concept of accesses? So in this case, I'll be using ID and its value, right? Now, whatever is visible on the screen. So imagine this is the Salesforce login page, right? Now, whatever is visible on the screen, for example, username, there are 99% chances that this username text is not going to change, right? There are 99% chances that the password text is not going to change. But there are very, very good chances that this ID is going to change, right? So anything which is visible on the UI, there are very, very less chances that it will undergo any changes by the development team because it is something which is being used by the end users, right? But as far as this ID or the classes or all this code, the DOM is concerned, I can confidently say not more than 1% people are actually going into the DOMs and checking the elements. The end users, the generic users, the folks who are using Amazon.com or Zomato.com. Nobody actually goes into the DOM to check it, right? So they can go and change these IDs as per the changes. For example, someday there is an enhancement which says that go ahead and implement one more input box, and as a result of this chap had to change another ID, which impacted this ID, right? Now you wrote down your expert. Okay, that's all fine. But what happened is that as a result of the change in the ID, your expert broke, right? So now you again have to go and write down another expert, right? So as a seasoned estate, it's very critical for you to understand that not only writing experts is your job, writing good optimized experts which are robust to changes. For example, if changes even come into the picture, your expert should be able to handle them. They should be written in such a manner. The best practices should be followed. That is what will make you a seasoned software automation tester, right? So what we'll do is we'll somehow use the username field and then we'll reach to the input box, right? So tomorrow, if the ID of the input box changes, it won't hamper us, right? Because we have used username field. Cool. So let me take an example here and let me paste it, right? So I'll explain it to you now. Cool. First part, let's have a look at. It says it says locate an element whose text is username, right? Fair enough. Then we used following sibling. I'm just going to tell you what it is. Don't worry for now. And then it says navigate to the input. Now, of course, you might question that we have used type is equals to email, which can change. Again, this is something that you learn with experience that which type of attributes can easily change and which will not, right? Because this is an email type field, there are very less chances it will change. But if you use any random ID or any class, that is more prone to change. And as an FYI, there is a method by which even you can remove the necessity of this particular type is equals to email. You can just write down the expert using input. And again, this is a task for you, sort of a practice for you, that go and try to write down this expert without using @type is equals to email. Right? Cool. Now, do you understand if tomorrow, if let's suppose if the ID of the username input box changes, I'm not concerned, I'm not worried because I have handled that using a text which is just above it. Right. Now, what is following sibling? We have learned about following till now. So for example, if I have to maybe get the following of this particular node, which has div as its tag, there are multiple following in front of it, right? Div ID is equals to ID card, then you have ahref, and then you have span and all these, right? Now, what differentiates between following and following sibling? So basically, when you go below the hierarchy, that is from upper to lower to lower to lower, they are following. But following sibling is basically when the levels are same. That is, you and your sibling who are of the same age, and all the other parameters are same, right? That is when the following sibling is, that is the equals. That is, the nodes are at the equal level, right? So let me go ahead and let me show you what I'm actually talking about. Uh, uh, See, you have this particular node has been selected for now using following sibling, the one highlighted in yellow. That is all fine. But there is a node just above it, which is at the same level. And how do you see it? You can take a great help of arrows, because I understand in so many lines of code, it might become a little difficult to understand that which one is following sibling. So you use the concept of arrows. So if I collapse this, do you see that this particular tag or this particular node is a child? I mean, it is in the below hierarchy, right? But if I talk about this particular node, that is the one highlighted in blue, which I'm again minimizing and maximizing, it is at the same level as input, right? So this becomes a following sibling sort of a thing. Now again, wherever my cursor is, you have an input tag. And then there is one more input tag just below it. They're again following, or rather not following, they're siblings to each other, right? Now, if I go from div to input, which are at the same level, at the same hierarchy, that is when following sibling comes into the picture. That is after div, the input. And if I do the opposite, that is from input, if I go to div, that becomes a preceding sibling concept. Right? So all in all, you have to understand one thing, that following sibling, preceding and preceding sibling, they are all the same. I mean, all the same as in they are somewhere correlated to each other. It all depends upon the type of scenario that you have. Cool. So this is the concept of following sibling, preceding and preceding sibling. If you feel that, okay, whatever you said, I am understanding, but I am not able to correlate it a lot, fair enough. You'll be able to do it once you practically implement these things at your own level. This is very important, right? So this is about, so we have two modules for access method. The number one is done. We'll go on to the number two now. Sanjay, do we have any questions for now?
No, we can continue.
Perfect, cool. Okay, so we have covered the 4 types of access method. Now we are going to see some more access method. The first one is child, right? Child, as the name suggests, basically any node which is in the lower hierarchy of the parent, right? So again, we'll go to an account record. I'll log in again. Okay. Now we are here, and let me navigate to any record for that matter. And now let me use the child concept. Okay, I'm sorry, on the right wrong deck. Yeah. So if I'll explain the XPath, don't worry, but for now, just see. Using this XPath wherein the child implementation is there, when I press enter, it's highlighting the type field for me, right? On the upper left corner, there is the type field is being highlighted in the blue color, right? I have identified this field, this web element using the concept of child. How have I done it? What I'll do is I will go ahead and I'll remove this XPath, right? Now, when I press enter, do you see a big horizontal selection on the UI? Right? And in that horizontal selection, there are so many fields: type, phone, website, account owner, account file, right? Now, this is basically the parent, which has all different types of fields or child embedded in them, right? Now, what I want to do is I want to find only the type field. So I simply go ahead and I paste it here, which is again child, that is the correlation. And then you have p tag. So basically this node is a child of the bigger horizontal bar that we just selected. And then you have p text is equals to type, right? So basically you have identified type. Now let's suppose if I want to identify phone, I'll give it as phone. If I want to identify industry, for example, again, we have the industry, right? So this is the concept of child. That is, you select the bigger element, and then whichever element is a part of it, you go and traverse via parent to the child or to the smaller element, right? Okay, this is the child, and then you have parent. And see, honestly, parent is basically the opposite of child, the concept, right? So if let's suppose if I want to somehow maybe locate the bigger element. So for example, in the earlier example, we navigated from the bigger horizontal, that is from mm, 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 yeah, from bigger box of selection to the smaller, which is type. Now I want to do the opposite of it, right? So what I have done, this one, right? So let me again remove parent diff for now to better understand. So for now, I have straight away went into selecting the type field, which is doing perfectly. Now what I want to do is, due to some scenario, due to some situation, I want to get into the div element. That is the parent of it. So what I'll do is, I'll simply use /parent :div. So now do you see the highlight has changed? So earlier on the DOM, it was highlighting P node. That is the node which has P tag. But as soon as I pasted div, you have the div or the parent being highlighted now, right? So it's exactly the opposite. So in in child concept, you go from parent to child, that is from the upper node to the lower node. And in the parent concept, you go from bottom to up, that is from lower node to upper node. Cool. Okay. This is parent child, and then we have descendant and ancestor. So I'm honestly, descendant and ancestor are basically exact opposite to each other. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you an example of ancestor for now, right? So it turns out that, okay, let me remove this particular parent. Cool. So the node which is highlighted right now has a P tag, right? Now, do you see there are multiple divs to it? Number one, then you have number two, then you have number three, and so on. Now, if I want to just select the parent which is just above the P, then I'll use parent, right? But what if I want to select something which is above? Let's suppose this slot or this div or what? Then I use the concept of ancestor. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll write ancestor and then I'll write div. So it takes me to all the ancestors it has. See, there are 18 results. So all the divs which are above that particular P, it will go and navigate me to that particular, all those particular ancestors, right? So basically parent will navigate you to the just above parent, but ancestor will take you to all the places that you want to go, right? Again, I'll show you, or rather let me show you the essence of it. So for example, I have this particular thing and I want to navigate to, let's say, slot, right? So what I'll do is I'll put this as the ancestor as slots. See, I have 5 now, right? And the one which is of my preference is this one. Do you see that when I reach to this particular DOM or this particular node is being highlighted in yellow color, right? What if I want to select it now? It's as simple as that I'll simply use the name and the secondary fields as the attribute and attribute value, right? So let me write it as C. So using ancestor, I went in from P tag to slot, and then I use this attribute and attribute value to somehow again identify this entire horizontal bar. Just scrolling it a little bit. See, right? So if you remember in the last to last example, we traversed from this entire parent into the child. But now from the lowermost child, we traversed into the ancestor, right? So all in all, you have to understand one thing, that if you are confident with the concept of node, if you know the concept of collapse and all, you'll be able to understand access method, right? And once if you get the hint or gist of what basically these relations are to each other, you'll be easily able to navigate to any element using any other element. And trust me, this concept of access is very important, because in real-time projects, the DOMs are quite, a lot of projects never use the best practices. So there will be a lot of misses in all the nodes. So somehow you'll have to make a correlation between the nodes to identify your web element, right? So yeah, this is the concept of ancestor for now. What I would suggest at this point of time is that please go ahead and practice these things at your own level. If you want that you maybe you miss something or you want to understand something better, you have my channel, which is
You can
this one.
better you can open your.
Yeah, you have this channel wherein I talk about a lot of things in general. So it's not only specific to test automation. Yes, there is a lot of content about test automation, but there are resume grooming sessions, interview sessions as well that can help you. Go ahead. I have these videos in detail. Of course, since we have time limitations in such live sessions, I always give the gist. But herein we have the videos wherein I've discussed all these things which I'm teaching in the session in detail. Go ahead, have a look at them, and if you want to know how you can make an ATS friendly resume or how you can crack your interviews, everything is there, right? So go ahead and have a look at these videos, and I think they'll surely help you. Plus, if you have any questions, any queries, and if you want some specific help regarding to a specific topic or a specific situation, please feel free to ping me on LinkedIn. So yeah, Sanjay, I think that is all for today. This is a little complicated topic, so I want to give folks some time to practice it. And then in the next session, we'll see how we can install an ID and we'll learn some different methods of Selenium. But
Yeah.
for now, yes, XPath is done.
Okay, thank you, Chaitanya. So it was good session. I think you explained really very well. You did all the hands-on. So this is the beauty of the sessions. Like
Yeah.
you're explaining theory along with you are doing some hands-on. So I'm sure like whoever is following this bootcamp, if they do regular practice through the videos, they will be able to understand. And guys, I would recommend if you can go to Tech and More, you will find lots of things related to QA and automation testing, right? So all sort of things are available. So here he's just sharing brief knowledge. If you want to deep dive and want to understand, so you can just go and watch those videos.
Right, right.
Yeah. Pranav, you are asking like the schedule. So basically, we are having one session every week, right? So mostly we'll be doing sessions on Thursday. Like yesterday, we were having some project work, so not able to do. That's
Yeah.
why we are doing on Friday. But mostly Thursday, 6:15 p.m. we'll be having the session.
Yeah, right.
Okay, so this is it for today. Thank you everybody. Thank you everybody for joining the session live, and those who are watching the recording, please follow all the sessions. And thank you, Chaitanya, for sharing all the knowledge.
Thank you.
Yep, really
Thank you,
appreciate
Sanjay.
it. Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye everyone. See you in the next
Bye.
session. Bye.
Yeah.